Attorney General Bill Barr has formally resigned. He leaves office next week, a move that shows how Barr differed from so many Republican veterans in Washington who did find themselves ultimately fired by tweet in this Trump era. Sources around Barr have been leaking his departure plans for weeks. They're now trying to cast Barr as some kind of independent figure who left clashing with Trump over issues like voter fraud and keeping that newly revealed Hunter Biden probe secret before the election. And let me tell you, having covered this throughout the whole period of the Trump DOJ, this is classic Barr. It's not unlike the gap between Barr's letter that offered a Mueller book report and the actual Mueller report, which is one of the many misleading and political acts that led so many DOJ veterans across both parties demand Barr resign long before he did this week. And in addition to that meddling in the Mueller probe, you had meddling in cases regarding Trump allies, while Barr's own resignation letter doubles down on this problem. He falsely describes the Trump DOJ's own Russia probe as an effort to cripple or oust the Trump administration. With frenzied and baseless accusations of collusion, he adds his salute to Trump's, quote, unprecedented achievements for the American people. I'm joined now by a former federal prosecutor who has been a keen observer of the Barr Justice Department, John Flannery. Counselor, good to see you.
Good to see you. Good days.
Well, we have the recency effect. Every lawyer knows it in trial. You want to leave the jury with that last thought in their mind, and it's probably going to be more effective than what you talked about on the first day, right? Barr is nothing if not an effective and at times canny lawyer. He leaves pointing and sources pointing to his clashes with Donald Trump. Do you think that's the way to remember him, or was it a lot more of that earlier loyalty?
Loyalty, I don't think, is the key word for him. I think the word for him is that he's always believed as a federalist and somewhat of a Christian cultist that the people really don't know what's best for them. And so he really does believe in a monarchical kind of government. Although it's striking to read his December 14th letter of resignation, which reads a little bit like a hostage letter. I mean, he's talking about how great this guy was who has abused him in the end, because perhaps he couldn't go as far in their bromance and crime as Trump was prepared to go. And like you said, there's a whole series of things this man has done right after he assured America he was going to be a great attorney general. Well, he's probably exceeded the most corrupt act of former attorney generals throughout the history of the United States. That's his mark. That's his legacy. And he did it because he was not the law enforcement officer. He was a mouthpiece for Trump. He did what Trump needed to do for that policy, which I suggest, which I think he embraced, which is a government by fiat. I don't have to listen to you, even Congress. He supported Trump usurping Congress, usurping the courts, analyzing and investigating the investigations that he then misrepresented, as you first said, in the Mueller investigation. He has been at every place, and I'm among those thousands of prosecutors who said he should resign. Well, he has belatedly, but not for the reasons we said. He's obviously said something else. But as he's going out the door, he was compromising those convictions. He was compromising our free and fair elections by these bogus statements he made about we found this fraud. And somewhere along the line, it seems like there must have been an intervention. Somebody, maybe a good criminal defense lawyer or someone who's concerned about the ethics by which he could retain his bar license, said, do you have any idea what you're doing? Do you want to be standing next to this guy when he's flying to Florida on the day of the inauguration or whatever crazy thing he does between now and January 5th or January 6th or January 20th?
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.